to the Next Level Casino Careers Show, a series highlighting industry tips and insights from the best minds in the casino and hospitality industry. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Joining me today is Cynthia Kiser Murphey, also known as CKM, or to some as Cindy. And boy, are we in for a very big treat today. Over the last couple of years, I've got to know Cindy very well. Cindy comes from a very deep background. Most recently, before joining San Manuel at the Palms as a general manager, she was a longtime senior executive with MGM and MGM Mirage during those years, and led the team over at New York on the Las Vegas Strip, and really brings a whole host of insights and knowledge and experience for all of us today. So we're in for a big treat. So please say hello to Cindy, and thank you, Cindy, for joining us today.
Thank you, Peter. It's really awesome to have the opportunity to both work with you now that we're partners, and also to participate in this podcast today. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like we can go several hours with this, but we're going to try and keep this concise and engaging, and I have no doubt we're going to do that. So thank you. So we like to get things kicked off. We like to call it an origin story. Do you mind sharing with the listeners sort of your origin story?
No, I'm happy to. Thank you. So I grew up in Kansas City, and when I was in high school, I was very fortunate to go to a high school career fair. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to study. And I walked into our gymnasium, and there was a booth there for hospitality management. And Peter, the second I saw that, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I had no background in it. My family had not been in the business. But the second I saw that was an option for a university, I took it. So I packed my car at age 17, moved to Las Vegas to attend UNLV. And it was a tremendous experience. UNLV is very embedded in the community in terms of working directly with the industry. And it was quite an experience to move into the dorm with kids from all over the world, really, and study hotel management here. And I just happened to be in Las Vegas as Las Vegas was turning that corner and really growing from the Las Vegas Strip with gambling halls to becoming full mega resorts. So I had the opportunity to open several mega resorts, including what I call the Big Green Building, MGM, opened resorts in Detroit, helped open in Massachusetts, and others in Las Vegas, including New York, and then most recently got to help open the Palms. So it's been a career of a ton of growth in our industry, and really getting involved in a lot of openings and setting the ground level of the culture and creating a lot of activation for my properties.
Yeah, that is such a fantastic story and quite a journey. I mean, I remember when the Green MGM, that was like the largest, if I'm not mistaken, it was the largest resort in the world at the time, right? Wasn't it?
Yes,
both in number of rooms and square footage. And I remember seeing that for the very first time right before opening, and it was just so big, and the scale of it was unlike anything. It dwarfed every building in the city of Las Vegas, and it still does, even to this day, stand out in the city. Drawing back in that early part of your career, Las Vegas was always known as sort of like an insider city, that you had to be sort of on the inside and in the know. Tell me how you were able to, as a student from UNLV, break into the business and get into that sort of circle, and who were some early influences in your career that kind of come to mind?
Well, I really give so much credit to UNLV, because UNLV was set up on the premises of practical experience and exposure, deep exposure, whether it be through internships, whether it be through study abroads, through sales blitzes. The university really throws you right into the industry, and had some excellent professors. The Dean Jerry Vallon, was amazing. He was a way early influencer. Besides my mother and my grandfather, I would say he was in my early career one of the most important in launching my career by exposing me to what was Las Vegas and what are all the various facets of our industry. As you know, our industry is built on many, many different verticals. And you can learn hotel operations, food and beverage, catering, entertainment, gaming, events. So I think that UNLV really piqued your imagination as a student by giving you exposure. Even if you thought you knew what you wanted, the curriculum and the professors and the dean forced you to take a look at the whole spectrum of opportunities in hospitality.
You know, you brought up UNLV a few times, and I recall fondly. I remember Dean Vallon. I also remember, one professor that stands out for me was Professor Jim Kilby, who taught casino operations. And I owe so much to Professor Kilby. He taught the math behind it and sort of how the casino actually works from the math model on up into guest service, right? So. Really a lot of insights gained from that university. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. The focus on experiential and diving into actually working in the industry certainly has been a powerful foundation for many, including myself and you. As you draw from that, and let's say one of our listeners is out there in school or thinking about going to school, and I know that, nowadays it almost feels like internships don't carry as much weight as they once were. But I can tell you, for me, that was a very powerful experience to do one. What would you say to a current student today that's saying, is internships really just a check the box to get my degree? Or how do you maximize that internship experience?
I think internships are one of the most powerful opportunities at the university. And in fact, we have a very robust internship that we've launched here at the Palms, where you get exposure to top leaders. You go through a rotation and you get real live hands-on experience, especially with our opening. We had more than a dozen interns help us open, and then the next semester, and now we're on our third group already. So internships are so valuable because you get to deal directly with top leaders who share insights with you, and you get a lot of that frontline experience at the same time. Any university, I would take as many internships as you can and take them with different companies, maybe in different disciplines. Do one internship, even if you're not interested in finance, go through a finance internship. Go into housekeeping, go in and clean rooms with the housekeepers, go into marketing and learn about the metrics that are so important in the decision making as we build our business. Work in events. I take any area you can and take all your electives as internships or study abroads or other experiential programs. There's some where you're hands-on working in the golf industry, some in events, somewhere out on the gaming floor. And I know that many of the hospitality curriculums, particularly our alma mater, does offer some really rich opportunities in that regard.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, when someone asks me about internships, I say, consider that a blessing that they still have them. And that is one quick way, if you don't know anyone, to put yourself in front of the right people who make decisions, who you get to observe and see how they work every day through real world problems, right? It doesn't get much more real than being in the room when things are happening. So I'm with you on that. Big supporter of internships and encourage people as much as I can to do them. So talking a little bit about that, just kind of segueing, how do you spot potential? Is there any particular methodology or things that you could look for? People are, for those in the workplace, sort of maybe mid-career or just about to start their trajectory up. How does someone in a senior leadership role like yourself spot potential?
I look very much for someone who's genuinely interested, who's extremely curious about learning, and generally interested in serving others. And whether you end up in a front of the house role where you're directly serving the guest, or whether you're serving the organization that supports serving the guest, we really are in a servitude industry. And particularly in our company, where we're serving our communities and our families and our teams and our owners. So that's very important to me, to find someone who thinks of service first, thinks of others, and has enthusiasm, has passion, has integrity, of course, but demonstrated enthusiasm about our business, someone who has a positive outlook. That's extremely important. These are not easy jobs. The hospitality industry is extremely demanding. And if you believe it's vibrant and it's exciting, then you do it every day because you love it. And that's because it's what you want to do. And you can spot that. You can tell if someone's really committed to doing it. This is not a job where you clock in and out, and at the end of the day, you forget about it. You immerse yourself in hospitality. So I look for people who genuinely care. And it's not for everybody. It is extremely engaging, challenging, and demanding all at the same time. And if you love it, you love it, and you can spot that.
So what about those? So that's if you happen to see people, in action and you're in front of you. How does someone grab your attention? I recall, in the early '90s, you mentioned the big green MGM. I actually applied to that, and back then you had to wait in line and do it in person, and then you met your first sort of brief interview was in person, and then the next one was in person. Today, everything is sort of online. You submit a resume. So you may not get to see that passion in person. How is there anything tips maybe for the listeners that how do you express your passion through a CV, resume, or a letter?
Well, I believe that it's important to portray what is distinctive about yourself, and that's the same for our wonderful resorts. What's distinctive about Yamava and Palms? And what's distinctive about the people that work for us. So if you can stand out using one of your strengths, some people are particularly great at collaboration. Some are incredibly creative about events or ideas. Find a way to be a little bit different and a little bit distinct. And I believe firmly that it's important for your own personality to show through, particularly in the resorts that we operate. We're genuinely committed to personalized hospitality. So we're fortunate that we work for that kind of an organization where it's not robotic, it's not so structured that people have to fit into a mold. It's more about expression of yourself. And it's harder, maybe a little bit, but we've all gotten better at it. I mean, 5 years ago, how often did we do Zoom and Teams meetings? Not. We were forced into it during the pandemic, and we were, fumbling around. And now look at us. We have backgrounds and music and settings. And so we've gotten a lot better at that. And I do think that people's personality can show through, whether it be virtual, whether it be paper. Social media is tremendous. You can tell who hits their LinkedIn different than the way other people hit it, right? You can see when somebody pops in something that's got personality or expression or a little authenticity.
Yeah, you bring up some points there. The industry has evolved and it's changed over time. And how, what sort of change have you noticed, and how, as a senior executive, as a leader, have you been able to thrive, with all that change? And just thinking through what, all the properties you've had the pleasure of opening and operating as the top executive. There's a lot of change. I mean, going back from MGM early '90s to Detroit and New York. I mean, those are just all, if you look at those moments in time, there were so many different things that have evolved since then in the middle of all that as well. How were you able to stay on top of your game all that time? And are there any sort of tips you can share with people to help them maintain that high level of performance?
I think I have two directions on the answer. First is rather common, that would be technology, and second is what I'll call activation. So on the technology side, it's important to stay as fresh as you can with the tools that you need or tools that you don't know you need. And it's important to surround yourself with people who can help you with technology, because it's, there's something different in every place that you work, in every conference you attend. There's always some different platform. And making sure that someone helps you navigate into that. And about the time you learn technology, it's extinct, and now you got to go pick up another one, right? So keeping yourself as a serial learner, constantly learning and getting just enough to get through until you can get good at it. And I think we've all seen that in the last few years with, some of the conditions that changed in our world. The second, I would say, is activation. Many years ago, my team, we developed a philosophy around activation. We believe that guests today sure, they like to go to big shows and go to a ticketed event. It's a wonderful thing to do. But often guests want to be a little bit more free-flowing and be spontaneous. So creating, and it's not personalized entertainment, but more activations where you can experience different kinds of entertainment, whether it be a small footprint live music, an artist in residence, a up-close magician, a little bit of comedy, a parade, an activation where you're throwing beads and customers are reacting to it, or interactive opportunities for guests to get involved and participate. I believe it's really important as hospitality leaders creating those experiences for our guests and our team members that we think about activating everything that we do. I think activation is both a noun and a verb. And someday, Peter, we should write a book about that. You've done an outstanding job. I mean, some of the things that you do at Yamava, I'm in awe of. And here we are at the Palms, working really hard to activate this beautiful resort in ways that, it was closed for 2 years, and bringing it back not only with our wonderful Pearl Theater with ticketed live entertainment, but also right there in the moment photo ops and live experiences. We have a hot seat promotion where you're on the floor and we walk up and tell you at your table spot on the game, you get to spin the wheel, and we celebrate that, and entertainment that's right there next to you that you can almost touch. We have a small footprint band performing in our casino, and you can log into their website and request a song, and they'll play it for you next, right there in the lounge. So I believe people like that kind of experiential entertainment, and they like to be spontaneous. And I really think that's a trend of the future for us to figure out how to deliver that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're saying about personalizing entertainment, because I think so much of entertainment in other places has been cookie cutter of sorts, and so being able to provide something unique and different. Next time I'm on property, I'm going to have to go check out that song. I didn't know that. If that's new since the last time I've been there, I can't wait to see it. Because that's certainly right up my alley. I'm gonna throw some songs out there for them to sing. I can't wait.
Well, they give you this great big laminated card, and you pick the song. You go onto their website, and 2 songs later, it shows up. And so it's really, I thought that was pretty innovative, and that one just came around 2-3 weeks ago. So we are always looking for that surprise and delight. And what can we do? What can we do to make the gaming floor, the lounges, the restaurants? And, somebody said too, if somebody's celebrating a birthday, why do we wait till the very end of their dining experience and get people who can't sing to come out and sing, and you just start the door? So what we need to do is figure out before they get there, what is their favorite cocktail, and do they want it flaming? Or, I think our job is to be a little bit detectives, to investigate what do our customers want, what do our team members want, and how do we hand it to them?
Yeah,
that's what makes our industry so fun and so always changing, because people are all different.
They are. And speaking of that, anything, over the last 5 years, speaking generally, of course, not just casino industry, is there anything that's kind of surprised you with sort of like where hospitality has come over the last 5 years? Any surprises aside from the pandemic, of course, take that out of the equation, but is there any sort of trends or things that you never would have thought, would be happening that's happening right now?
Well, I think and always trying to be really positive and talking like we're insiders. What surprises me is how much of the hospitality industry is now business, and the customer can see that. So as hoteliers and as operators of casino entertainment centers, if we can be more focused on the experience, I believe that the business has gotten to be more of a business, and the customers can see it when you're constantly raising fees and cutting experiences. So I think that what surprises me is that we are in the hotel business. We are in the restaurant and entertainment business. Let's make sure we keep it. I know that, we're blessed to work for a company that does that and gives us all the support. I think it's really important to protect our industry, to make sure, I'm sitting in Las Vegas, in this beautiful city. We've got to make sure Las Vegas is still like the wow experience. And what people talk about is not that they were hit at every corner with another fee, but they were surprised and delighted by all the excellent service and the great food and the great entertainment and the great interactions they have with people. So I think what surprised me is putting the business up front. I think the business should stay behind the scenes, a little bit like Walt Disney did, kind of keep it in the back room and let the experience be on the front stage.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think evidence of that, even outside of Las Vegas, is the popularity of Airbnb and VRBO, and there's a lot of inconsistency there, right? I mean, if you stay in an Airbnb in one city, it's most likely not going to be like one in another city. But there are people that really like the fact that every time they stay somewhere, it's different, and I think it speaks to what you're talking about, is having that unique experience, a personalized experience, and not have it feel like a transaction, right? I think that's exactly what it speaks to. So thanks for that. Let's shift gears a little bit, and let me ask you, to fill in a hypothetical blank here. My role as a general manager, the most important function is blank.
100% supporting my team. I remember the first day I was walking in to be president of a property, and the outgoing president said, "This job's really simple. All you have to do is support your team." And he told me that he would be back after lunch to stay with me for 2 weeks. Never saw him again. He walked, and I saw him, of course, at a dinner a couple of years later. I said, "Okay, really?" But he was right. It's just trust your team, support your team, and I say this to others as you're getting promoted. What got you the job, what got you to get promoted is not what's going to help you be successful in your new role. So if you were particularly skilled in the front desk, when you get promoted into management, now your job is to support the people that run the front desk. So making that transition, no matter what phase you are in the career, if you're going to your first supervisory job or you're moving into director, vice president, senior vice president levels, it's really about supporting your team. So being a technical expert is one important aspect at the earlier part of your career. But as you get farther in your career in our industry, it's about people, leading people, inspiring people, supporting them when things are tough, and helping make sure they have the resources to do their job.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of inspiration and inspiring people, who inspires you outside of the casino industry? Are there any external inspiring folks that you tend to draw towards?
Well, early in my life, my mom was extremely feisty, single mom, very tiny but very powerful. And my grandfather, who was a surgeon, and I remember early in my career, I was worried that he was saving lives and I was going to study hotel, and I thought he would think that was frivolous. And he said to me, "Cynthia, you get that out of your head." He was, I was very young, and he said, "You just get that right out of your head right now, because I'm out doing surgery and saving their life so they can go on vacation. They're not going to remember the 50 weeks of the year they were working, but they're going to remember the 2 weeks they go on vacation. That's your job, is to create those experiences in their life." So for me, it was validation that I was going into the right industry and that I was still serving people. So that was the early inspiration. Today, it's my family. I have a wonderful husband and 2 wonderful boys, and we have 2 large Dobermans. And one of the Dobermans thinks that people stay home 24/7 because of the pandemic. But family is very inspiring to me. So, and my friends and my team, of course, as well.
So how do you balance your life then? When you're not on at the Palms, what does Cindy do for fun?
Well, we have a very strong addiction to a particular dance instructor. We go to dance class, minimum of 1 up to 3 or 4 times a week. And it's a really hard and wonderful class, really inspiring gentleman named Enrique. And we've gotten a fair amount of our executive team to go now too. So it's really fun. So, and he taught all through the pandemic down in the Arts District in Las Vegas. So he's a big inspiration outside of work. Love to spend time outdoors. The Red Rock Canyons out here are amazing and great for your soul to go out hiking with your family. And of course the 4-legged canines. So that's pretty, the last year and a half has been a lot of time at the Palms, which is super inspiring. But it is good to go out and get fresh air.
Do you do much traveling?
Well, I think Pre-pandemic, yes. Now, we've been opening the property. So the last year we've been here a lot. Love to travel. Have a cabin up in the mountains in Big Bear, California, which I really love. And my oldest son lives in Texas, so I get down to Texas a lot. And my youngest son is studying in London right now, so I'm going to be visiting him.
Oh, wow. Studying in London for how long? I mean, is it a year abroad, or is it a semester, or?
It starts out at 7 months, but I think he has aspirations that are longer. So.
Oh boy, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That is going to be fun. Oh, wow. That's fantastic. It's the beginning of the year, and, it's a time of reflection that many people, reflect back on last year and sort of the accomplishments. And boy, 2022 was a big year for the Palms and the Palms team. And, quite a monumental task and effort it took to get the property open. I don't think people appreciate the amount of effort it takes to restart a property that's been dormant for a couple of years. Can you share with the audience, maybe some of your proudest moments, since, let's say, December of 2021?
Wow. You're right, Peter. It has been a year, one of the most significant years of my whole life. And I believe the team feels that way. And we're super honored to be the first Native American owned and operated property in Las Vegas. With the Gaming Hospitality Authority's leadership has been tremendous. It has been a historic opening. We got our gaming license in December and we opened 4 months later. And it was very interesting. There were a lot of supply chain issues. If you just think back a year, we needed to order all of the linens for the towels, the terry, and all the sheets from out of the country. They all had to come on shipping containers. If you remember what the San Pedro and Long Beach ports were like a year ago with all the ships backed up, our linen was coming. That came, and then all the cards, chips, and dice had to come before we could open. And ironically, the linens came from overseas faster than the cards, chips, and dice did from the Midwest. And the night that the chips we were really concerned. The chips were arriving on a truckload. And never in my career have I had an entire team at the cage standing on the loading dock waiting for that truck to arrive. We literally had a celebration when the chips arrived, and the cage team had to go through all the protocols to properly, with compliance in mind for sure, load them into the cage. And that was a night to remember. The proudest night, obviously, opening night was just amazing. We had team member rallies the day before where our board members came and wrapped their arms around our team. Our management committee came in and really helped to launch this property. And then the last 9 months, growing the business every single month. We've got most of our venues open. We have a few more entities to open. We've got our Pearl Theater. We've got most of our restaurants open, still one more to come. And concerts are going well. The food's going well. Our gaming floor is getting more and more vibrant. And we're working real hard with you to delight the Yamava and Palms customers through our Club Serrano and trying all kinds of interesting programs, many of which were inspired by yourself and your team. And we are deeply appreciative of that. So really for us, it's been a learning experience. So for example, a few weeks ago was New Year's. Upcoming, we have the big game. Well, we don't know how this property responds to a Super Bowl weekend in Vegas. We don't know how the property will respond to March Madness. We're guessing and we're planning, but then after each of these big citywide events or milestone events, we then evaluate and try to plan for the future. And then, of course, later this year, we have F1, Las Vegas Grand Prix. That's going to be tremendous for all of Vegas. But we are a little bit off the strip, so we're catering to locals and, of course, to our joint loyal customers and learning how to attract people to this beautiful resort. So it's really very engaging, and it's different not being on the strip. So it's been a lot of fun and a lot of learning.
Well, I think you guys have done a fantastic job in year one. I just continuously get positive responses from guests and colleagues that visit the property, and every new element that you've added has received a positive review. So it sounds great, and I can't wait for my next visit. Speaking of the future, what excites you about the future? Is there anything that gets you particularly excited? I know you touched upon some of the things that are coming event-wise, but is there anything else that you didn't mention that excites you about the future?
Well, getting past the 1 year mark where we have more knowledge about how we can make the Palm successful. A few goals. One is to become the wonderful resort where people who work down on the Strip, where everybody's comfortable. It's kind of nice to go someplace where you don't work when you get off work, and it's really easy to get here. So we feel very strongly about welcoming our industry colleagues. So when they get off work, they come over here to eat and gamble and have some fun, hang out in our sports book, go to our concerts. I believe we can really achieve more of that as we grow into it. Our city is so vibrant and dynamic, and as we take advantage of everything that's going on in Las Vegas, and we really join the Palms back into that Vegas landscape, we're quite serious about that. And then getting the team to have the confidence to know, okay, we've got the first year behind us. How do we start building? How do we bring in more innovations? How do we bring in more predictive analytics? How do we really get this property to sing and realize its full potential? And also opening, I think when we opened, it was a strange time for entertainment booking because all of these acts who had their routings were making up concerts and venues or shows from 20 and 21. So here we come popping along in 22 and opening the Pearl Theater. We're now at a point where we can get into the routings. And last week we had a concert that was at your house on Friday and mine on Saturday, and it worked pretty well. So we've got a lot more of that to come and really maximizing the assets that we have.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. And, for the folks that have been big Palms fans over the years, I'm just going to pop a few questions out there. For those who remember the Real World Suite, is the Real World Suite still intact? Is it still there?
The Real World Suite is here. I will tell you that when we arrived, it had not been refreshed since it was the Real World. So we're looking at some fun plans for that. We do have a few uses for it, but it's still there. And we get a lot of questions about it. So we're excited to see what we can do with that wonderful asset.
Fun. I can't wait for that one. And there's always a question about, is the recording studio and the basketball suite still there?
The basketball suite is still here, and it is extremely popular. For those that haven't seen it, you can shoot hoops and then have a very nice celebration. And then you can sleep on the basketball court with Murphey beds that come down, and they're NBA-sized Murphey beds. So that's really, really fun. I'm sitting in the Kingpin suite right now, which has 2 bowling lanes, and it's a really, really fun suite. The recording studio is very much with us down the hall, and we have plans to bring that back as well. We do a lot of tours at the Palms, and all of these venues are on our tours.
Excellent. Excellent. So anyone from the general public can just come in and do a tour?
No, we set up a lot of special tours. We get a lot of requests and we honor them. We have professional tour guides who are trained in the history of the art, who are trained in the history of the recording studio. There's a lot of rich culture and history here at the Palms. So we've got a team that'll do that. So you just call over to our catering sales team or our executive team, and we set up a lot of tours.
Awesome. And the movie theaters over there, I understand it got a new facelift of some really cool was working, over last year. Tell us what Brendan did with that. He did some really neat, right? With his art over there.
Unbelievable. First of all, completely refreshed every theater. And so it's all those recliner seats that are super comfortable. He brought in a local Ukrainian artist who resurfaced the floors in a beautiful artistic way. He also put in a bar, really beautiful bar, fresh gelato, which is really dangerous. As you're walking out at night, you think, do I need a scoop of that? Yeah, I do. And he's done a lot. He has Johnny Brendan. It's the Brendan experience. So he has surround sound, and it's a really good viewing experience in our theaters.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing a little update on the Palms. I think the big takeaway for those out there listening is if you want to remain successful in your career, you got to keep improving, right? I mean, Cindy could have easily made the recommendation, we don't need to keep this or improve this or rethink that. And you just heard throughout this interview and this podcast that Cindy is challenging the team to take it to the next level, to make it happen, be different, be unique, use the opportunity to put together a different value proposition that will feel more personalized and different for each individual guest. And it really just, I think, shone bright through this podcast that's a big part of her success. Before we wrap up, Cindy, we like to end the show with the 3 tips that anyone applying today could use to take their career to the next level. Can you share 3 tips with them?
One is to genuinely be interested in and concerned about others, people. 2 would be to be curious and keep your mind open to learn. And 3, for me, it's enthusiasm. Show it, share it, be enthusiastic. Life is short. Make the most of every minute.
I love it. I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Cindy Kiser Murphey, the president general manager of the Palms in Las Vegas. So happy to have you on the show today. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to my next visit to Las Vegas to come see what all the new elements you just talked about that I haven't seen.
Thank you, Peter. It's really a pleasure to be your partner and have gotten to know you the last year. As you know, we haven't worked together before, and it's really an honor and a pleasure to collaborate with you. And you've been a tremendous support. So for all the audience to know, you've brought so many innovations that we've been able to adapt at the Palms, and your team's been amazing, and so have you. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good evening.
Check out more episodes on nextlevelcasinocareers.com.